You know, it's really hard to be mad at the A's when they didn't do anything wrong.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, A's fans. Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the podcast. We follow your Oakland A's as long as they are rooted in Oakland. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I have been a baseball podcaster for well over a decade now. I've been a part of the Locked On Podcast Network since 2019 when I started doing, there it is, Locked On MLB. I still host Locked On MLB every day, but now I'm also here on Locked On A's. Follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And on Instagram, I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And if you're listening to us every single day, make sure to put on that hashtag Everyday A's. It lets us figure out exactly who's listening to us every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends at eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. And that's bad news if you're from Toronto. And the Toronto Blue Jays are going to be facing the A's at the end of the week. And also, we're going to be doing a couple of shows. I have the two new hosts of Locked On Toronto Blue Jays are going to be a guest on the show later this week, where we're going to talk about the series between the A's and the Blue Jays that are going to be happening a week from today. All right. What happened today? And I'm frustrated by the game today. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm frustrated, but I'm not mad at the A's. They scored one run, and of course it was on a solo homer, Geloff homer. But they were going up against Charlie Morton, and Charlie Morton's a really good pitcher with a great resume. And they had Medina. Luis Medina was making his debut for the season. 25-year-old Medina, who pitched 17 starts last year, has a lot of talent. There's no getting around the fact that the man's got a lot of talent, but he had a rough go of it in 2023. But you're hoping that was the growing pains. And what we saw today was the sign of a very good starting pitcher. I thought we were going to get like 4 innings out of him. A guy just make his first start of the year. He pitched into the 6th. And you go right down the line. 5 2/3 innings. Basso came out and bailed him out of the 6th inning. He let up 2 hits, 1 run, and it was unearned. He walked 2 and he struck out 6. He did more than a strikeout an inning and worked around the 2 hits and 2 walks for the 1 unearned run that took place in the first inning. Now, of course, when I saw that, oh boy, we're down 1 bagel in the first, I thought like, okay, this is not going to look good. As Olsen got that single, but they just shut him down he shut them down the rest of the way. Unfortunately, Morton was throwing a 1-hitter, and in it goes for after 1-0, after 2 1-0, after 3 1-0, and you saw that Medina was just matching Morton pitch for pitch, inning for inning. Now, I'm not going to be grumpy old man Sully here. That's not my job. I understand sometimes you're protecting pitchers, sometimes you're protecting this, sometimes you're protecting that. And I haven't read the entire scouting report on the condition of Charlie Morton right now, as he's making his 11th start, and he's averaging just under 6 innings a start. But he was throwing 6 innings, 1 hit. He did walk 5. He struck out 6, but after 6 innings, he threw 97 pitches. I don't know why they took him out. I don't know why. I am not Brian Snitker. I want to end that rumor now. And Brian Snitker knows his team. Clearly, he's won a World Series with them. Year in and year out, they're terrific. Charlie Morton's not a spring chicken anymore. So maybe it's this or the other thing. I don't know. Neither do you. But I gave a big old sigh of relief when I saw Morton was out of there. It was only 1-0. And almost immediately, Geloff hit the home run to tie the game. And I felt pretty good about things. Hey, it's tied going to the 7th. And then came the 7th. The 7th was really, for the lack of a better word, obnoxious. It was an obnoxious inning. All right, so Geloff hits the home run to off of Lee to start off the 7th inning. J.D. Davis walks, but he's left on base. Fine. Okay. In comes Adams. Strikes out the first batter, Ozzie Albies. I'm thinking, all right, cool. And then came the Duvall walk, and they lost him. He was either 0-2 or 1-2. But he was ahead. And nibble. And I'm in my car. My dog is next to me. I'm just yelling at my phone, throw strikes. And then Jared Kelenic does that little broken back check swing thingy. He gets a double. And then Sean Murphy gets an excuse me double. Neither the Kelenic nor the Murphy doubles were anything. One was a broken bat that just went down the line, and the other, they had the infield in. So Murphy's little pop fly that found that little Bermuda triangle that turned into that double would have, in any other circumstances, would have been an out. Chances are Schumann or maybe Toro, someone would have caught it. But because the infield was in, because they're trying to stop this, that, and the other thing, it finds that little thing. It finds that one place pinpointed in between the triangular crossfire that just gets fair. Boom. They call it a double. In the box score, it looks like a booming hit off the wall. It was a stonk, stonk, stonk. Run comes in. 2-1. I was mad. The reason I was mad was because, poor freaking Adams, he's going to, now he did walk the batter. He did walk Duvall. That's on him. But the next 2 batters didn't really do it. It wasn't anything wrong on his part. It's not like they lit him up. And then Jimenez comes in. He works around a walk for Atlanta. And then of course, they don't get to use Mason Miller. Danny Jimenez comes in and pitches the 8th. Now, in the 8th, it was a little more of, Ozuna's double to lead off the 8th. That was a legit double. And Albies drives him home. And they wind up loading the bases, and fortunately they got out of it. But, Iglesias comes out, Geloff out, McCann out, Schumann out. And the day after they were able to score at will, they managed 1 run on a solo homer. But I can't get mad at them. They pitched well. They wiggled out of jams. They got a clutch home run. And the person who was pitching for Atlanta, there's at some point you have to tip your hat. At some point it's not, why can't they score runs? You say, hey, the guy was on. And Medina was on too. And the A's let up 2 earned runs. 2. They struck out 8. And they probably 5 walks are probably too many walks. But they left a lot of runners in scoring. The Braves left a lot in scoring position. And and in the end, the A's just played well all the games in Atlanta. I think the game they played the worst was the game that they won, because they lost a close game on Friday. They won the weird game yesterday. And this is what you expect from the Atlanta Braves. Even without Ronald Acuna Jr., you're expecting this to be an elite team playing good, solid baseball. And I guess the one thing I could say that is, I said, don't have a stupid inning and learn how to score with more than a home run. And, the pass ball that McCann basically set up the run in the first inning. But, those happen. Those happen. You can't get mad. The A's are supposed to be a 100-loss team. The Braves were picked by a bunch of people to win the World Series. And they made them work. They made them work in a rubber game. This was a rubber game. And in the end, the Braves won. Why? They're a little bit better. Does it make me mad? Maybe a little bit. Do I wish they won the game? Yeah, absolutely. Am I currently talking like Robert Evans? Maybe I am. Do some of you know who I'm talking about? I'm guessing not. But I can't stay mad when the team does what you want to do and the other team has a little bit of luck on their side. It's time to talk to our friends over at FanDuel. Do you know who FanDuel is? FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. And now this is a phenomenal time to be checking out FanDuel. You got baseball games every day, but now we have set up our NBA Finals and our Stanley Cup Finals. Boston's playing Dallas. Who knows who's going to win that? Celtics are playing great, but they don't have a big man. And all of a sudden, Dallas could surprise them, just like they surprised everyone else in the West. Meanwhile, Edmonton, Florida, that's your Stanley Cup final. Everyone in Miami wants to see their Panthers win. The entire nation of Canada is rooting for Edmonton. It's going to be fun. FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, it's America's #1 sportsbook. Hey, where do you go to for your sports news? Can I recommend you make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring the biggest stories in all of sports. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube and the free Amazon Fire TV channel app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Hey, I'm going to ask everyone here who are everyday A's listeners to do your pal Sully a little bit of a favor. I'd like you to go either to the comment section here on the YouTube page, or go to the Apple Podcasts, wherever you leave your comments. I'm going to be doing a mailbag episode, but I want to have a bunch of good, solid questions. So if there's any questions you have in terms of the A's, in terms of the move, in terms of the playing in Sacramento, the series they're playing, thoughts on Fisher and everything like that, let me know. Put your questions down there. If you agree with something I'm saying, let me know that. If you vehemently disagree with me, let me know what you're vehemently disagreeing. By the way, I'm going to go. This was this is kind of Gravity Fallout Pines, who listens every single day, sent me something here via YouTube. I'm going to put it up here. Where is it? Here it is. It's pretty clear the A's aren't going to the playoffs. You think? So I'm rooting for June and July to be better than April and May. Well, their April and May was better than people thought. And I think one thing you have to do at this point is hope for two things. Well, three things. I do want to see them avoid 100 losses. It'd be great if they could avoid 90 losses. But to avoid 100 losses, I think would be solid, especially after the disastrous year they had last year. I really, really, really want to see the A's avoid last place. I mean, that would be great. And the other is I want them to be a spoiler. I want them to spoil. I want there to be a bunch of teams who think that they're having a great year and think they're going to have a bunch of easy wins when they come into Oakland, and have the A's spoil their party. Now, Gravity Fallout Pines also wrote, a successful season for me, develop their young guys, identify core, I can agree with that, win 65 games, that's avoiding 100 games, and a 400 winning percentage. Now, that's pretty cool. Make sure you get a 400 winning percentage. I have been checking the scores, and it's sad to say this because it's throwing dirt on old friend Ron Washington, but I'm checking the scores every day to make sure that not only, hopefully the A's won, but I want to see the Angels lose. I want to see the Angels lose because if there's any team that's going to keep the A's out of the cellar right now, it's the Angels, who look absolutely terrible. And today they lost to the Seattle Mariners. Luis Castillo wound up winning the game. And, you take a look at the Angels lineup. I mean, if you don't like the A's lineup, at least, Rooker and Toro and Duhar are getting some hits. Rengifo is a good hitter, but Moniak, Calhoun, I mean, going up and down this lineup going, wow, okay, Pilar could be a decent hitter, but there's no one to threaten you on this team. They wasted a solid Canning start today. Castillo gave the Mariners 7 shutout innings, and they're doing this without Rodriguez having a great year. Rarely hit the home run for them. But now comes the chance. It's funny. This is one of the weird things about baseball, and I kind of love that about baseball, because I want the A's to finish ahead of the Angels. So therefore, today, I'm rooting for the Mariners like mad. The very next day, what am I going to do? I am going to root against the Mariners like mad, because the Mariners are coming to town. And if there's any chance to act like a spoiler, it's going to be this Tuesday. The A's aren't playing on Monday. I may or may not have a show on Monday because I gave you one on Sunday. I gave you one Sunday morning and Monday morning, so I may take Tuesday because there's no game on there. But we're gonna have shows the rest of the week. But please send in any of your questions, everything, so we can have a viewer question episode. But on Tuesday, Spence is pitching against Kirby. Now, Kirby's a decent pitcher, and he's had a couple of very good games, but I like, Spence has pitched well in his last few games. He's pitched, he pitched, all right, he didn't do great against Colorado, but that's Colorado. But he pitched well against KC. He pitched into the 6th inning, letting up no earned runs against Tampa Bay. And I like, he's young. He's a 26-year-old, and he's shown the A's that he can handle major league pitch. He can man major league bats. So Kirby's a good, solid pitcher to be sure, and the Mariners are obviously a very good team. They're in first place, for goodness sakes, but they could be a vulnerable team, and it's at home. It's a day off. Now, I'll tell you something. When we didn't see Miller at all in the series against Atlanta, and part of me was wondering, should they bring in Miller in that 8th inning to just make sure the Braves didn't score again? Then people would yell, "Where you got to use him for the 9th?" They didn't use him at all. But I better not hear that Miller's hurt. I better not hear the reason they didn't pitch him was because he has a slight je ne sais quoi in his arm. Whenever you hear anything like, he just felt a little ennui in his fingers, next thing you know, he needs to have his arm amputated. That's the way it is with pitching situations these days. But as it stands right now, the A's are below 400. So Gravity Fallout Pines, they have to pick up the pace a little bit. They've dropped 6 of their last 10 games, so they got to pick up the pace a little bit to get above that 400 mark. But they are 2 games ahead of the Angels, which is pretty good if we want to stay ahead of them. And when the A's are playing the Mariners, the Angels will be playing the Padres, who are a decent team. So we're going to see what happens there. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about one of my favorite things to talk about on this show, which is, I bet you forgot they were on the A's. And this is someone who I have no memory of them being on the A's. because I was looking up something else. All right, let's hear a little bit from our friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. That's the formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights. Those are things I don't know what they are, but they know what they are at eBay Motors. They have over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, and you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to make your MVP your car, your ride or die, and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Sorry, folks at Locked On Blue Jays. Hey, this is a quick reminder that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and it's now available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channel app. When Billy Martin took over the Oakland A's in the early 1980s and brought him back to the postseason, there were a smattering of players who played with him during his time in New York who he brought back. I had absolutely no memory of Ed Figueroa making a cameo with the Oakland A's. But he did. And do you know what? He is someone who may have slipped through the cracks of a lot of baseball fans. I said, I bet you forgot he was an A. I bet some of you never knew who he was. But Ed Figueroa was a star pitcher for the New York Yankees. But his voyage to the New York Yankees took him down a lot of interesting paths. And his career, a short but interesting one, ended in Oakland. His life began in Puerto Rico. He was a pitching star in Puerto Rico and was scouted by the New York Mets. And as a teenager, he signed with the New York Mets and pitched in their minor league system. And then he wound up leaving the Mets system in 1969. Why? Why did the young Ed Figueroa, who at the time was was still in his early 20s, he was 20 years old, after pitching a couple of seasons, won pretty successfully for the Mets? I'll tell you exactly why. He served in Vietnam, and not a clerical job. He served in infantry in Vietnam. After a year of serving our country in Vietnam, he tried to return to his baseball life. He wound up signing with the San Francisco Giants organization, and he pitched well in their organization. It's amazing. It was one year he pitched 205 innings and pitched very well, but never got a call up to the majors. He bounced around and wound up in the California Angels organization, and as a 25-year-old made his debut. By the time he was 26, he actually was a decent pitcher with the Angels and was traded to the New York Yankees in a deal where Bobby Bonds, Barry's father and an all-star in his own right, was traded from the Yankees to the Angels. It was a reviled trade at first from Yankee fans, as Bobby Bonds was a big power hitter, and the Yankee fans thought, wait, what are we doing? Isn't this guy a terrific player? Why are we trading him away? Well, Gabe Paul, the general manager of the Yankees, was a pretty shrewd trader, and he traded when Bonds' value was through the roof. He got back Mickey Rivers, who became the Yankees' leadoff hitter for the World Series title teams, and Ed Figueroa, who became a real steady pitcher. He pitched 230 innings or more when they won the pennant in 76, the World Series in 77, and the World Series again in 78. He won 19 games in 76, 20 games when the World Series in 1978. He did not walk many batters. He wasn't a big strikeout pitcher, and he wasn't the big sexy pitchers that they had like Catfish Hunter or Ron Guidry or Sparky Lyle or Rich Gossage. Instead, he was an absolute steady as a rock pitcher who clashed badly with Billy Martin, who he thought was, I can't say the things he thought he was, but he really responded well when Billy Martin was let go and Bob Lemon became the new manager of the Yankees. And he wound up having probably his best year ever, winning the World Series in '78. Well, I'll tell you something. There's a cautionary tale about Ed Figueroa. You know, when people say, in my day, pitchers went 9. They showed there were no pitch counts and this, that, and the other thing. Well, maybe there's a reason for that. Because Ed Figueroa came up as a 26-year-old and threw at least 240 innings every year from 75, 76, 77, and 78. A 4-year stretch. And by 79, he was toast. He was worn out. Pitchers didn't get tired back then. Yes, they did. What are you, out of your mind? And Figueroa's career was, it flamed out. And eventually he got kicked around and the Yankees let him go and the Rangers let him go. And he was trying to make it back as a minor leaguer when an unlikely ally called him, Billy Martin, who he hated, who he clashed with. But Billy Martin was the manager of the A's. And the A's were in a stretch run getting back to the postseason during the strike year of 1981. And Billy and Ed Figueroa buried the hatchet. And Ed Figueroa came up and he pitched 2 games as a member of the Oakland A's. Neither one of them were particularly spectacular. But with that, he managed to bring a little bit of the Bronx Zoo magic to Oakland as they wound up going to the playoffs. The next year, he was in the A's organization, but didn't make it to the Major League squad. The year after that, he wound up getting an offer to pitch for the Milwaukee Brewers, but he thought, no, I'm done. He wound up playing in the Puerto Rican League and in the Mexican League and continued going, but then he wound up starting his own trucking company and wound up doing quite well in his businesses. And he got into the restaurant business and the trucking business and is now a fixture at like Yankee old timers days and everything like that. I remember Ed Figueroa as a fixture on the Yankees during those teams. A bit of a cautionary tale for people who want to just have the pitchers throw super long innings all the time. He was a star in New York. He was beloved because he was part of those great championship teams. But he finished his career with the A's. Yet another player I bet you forgot played for the A's. I know I did. I remember Ed Figueroa. I had no memory of him pitching for the Oakland A's. But hey, I guess that's what it takes. You have to have your own A's podcast to be able to figure that out. So follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And on Instagram, I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Being frustrated by a game, but realizing I can't get mad at anyone. This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Get those questions in. I want to do a mailbag episode. You can call me Sully.